My name's Cassie, and I'm representing C3. Woo! And I'm honored to be here. And something interesting about me, I don't know, nothing interesting about me. I'm a mom of 4, and so, yes, thank you.
So my name is Willie Peterson, Jr., not to be confused with my father, the awesome Dr. Willie Peterson, Sr. Google him, be impressed. No, but I represent Moore Street Baptist Church and the Real Ministry. Come on, Real in the house. Real means reaching, encouraging, anointing lives. And there's a lot of interesting things about me. I'm one of the most interesting people I know. I think the most interesting thing is the fact that when I think about my past and all the crazy things I've done, the fact that God chose to use me to reach people. Because the way I used to live, I wasn't reaching nobody. And I just think it's awesome. And I'm a vet, Desert Storm, so I love that too.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Brandon Bell. I'm with the Christian Campus Community at UNT. It's a ministry of the Singing Oaks Church here in Denton. And I have been in this role almost 2 years. And I was in youth ministry before that. Before that, I was a teacher and a coach, so I guess that makes me slightly interesting just because I didn't go into things saying, hey, I'm going to be a minister. I got a degree from UNT in kinesiology and said, hey, God, if you want me in ministry, I was a preacher's kid. And I was like, if you want me in ministry, you'll put me there when I'm ready, whether I got a degree or not. And that's exactly what he did. I would have never thought I'd be back here at UNT doing college ministry when I was here as a student. It kind of blows my mind still, and I'm very thankful for it. But I have 2 little daughters I'm absolutely crazy about, and a pretty redheaded wife. And so I'm excited to be here. And I'm friends with Dustin. That makes me pretty interesting too. Because Dustin's awesome.
Is that the wrong spot?
Race is a huge deal in my life because, for one, I'm biracial. And so my mom, is white and this blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, and my dad's black, and my husband's Korean, and so my kids are like, so, and so when I'm out in public, there's often I'm like mistaken as like the nanny or, the big sister. My kids range from like, milk chocolate to, like fair, very fair, and so I think race is important in my life daily because I have to be intentional in teaching my children about like their identity and how it's deeper than just what shade they are, because everyone that they're surrounded by is going to look different from them, and so probably just like on a shallow level, I'll say, or practical level, race is important because my kids are really interested in why they look so different from so many people that they see every single day, including their own grandmother. So that's my point.
Yeah, race is huge. For me, being African American male, I'm always reminded in certain scenarios that I'm a black man. So when I love wearing hoodies, but sometimes I want to get up and go to Walmart in the middle of the night and I throw on a hoodie, and my wife is so afraid because of the image it may portray. I just like wearing it. I have a bald head, I want to cover my head. But for other people, they are terrified of me. And when I know me and know how I love everyone, the fact that just my presence, and I know there are times, so when I'm checking out of a store, I make sure I have the receipt, and I make sure that my bag is seen. It's just like so many self-checking things I have to do just to make sure that, and then even still, I'm still concerned, because what if somebody just says something? So yeah, race is a huge is a huge, and I have to always balance. I always have to balance the fact that I know I'm a black man, and regardless of how people are seeing me, and even though I have to manage my conduct, I still make sure that I treat everybody equally, treat everybody like, hey, you're just you, regardless of how they're responding to me. But it hurts when I see people respond to me certain ways, especially because I know how I am, but I have to be cognizant of that. And I have a son, and I'm always worried. I'll tell you a quick story. My son called me 2 a.m. I didn't think this would bother me. He left me a message. He said, hey, I just got pulled over by the police. If you don't hear from me, you'll know what happened. Yeah, that was about a month ago. So race is huge for us.
I think for me in my personal life, just day to day, hearing your story, I don't feel that. Like I said, from a personal standpoint, race is a huge thing for me with my interactions with other people. Race is a huge thing for me when I'm raising my 2 daughters here in this country. I grew up in DeSoto on the south side of Dallas. And for me, I feel like at the time it was pretty evenly mixed black, white, Hispanic. Most of my friends, it was a pretty good mix of all that, kind of even. I would definitely be a minority there today, but it was very diverse in that regard. Not so much internationally like UNT, but in those 3 areas. And so I remember watching in a classroom in the 60s, the black people getting sprayed with the fire hose on the sidewalk. That image kind of seared in my brain at a young age. And I remember just being so angry. I was just so angry. That was such a, racism was like a foreign concept to me until that moment. And I remember looking next to my friends, my black friends having tears in their eyes. And just being like, what in the world is that? And I remember I cried in The Color Purple. Not too many white boys cry watching The Color Purple. I did. Yeah, I did. I was sensitive to it. So yeah, I think in the outlook in the world that I see, man, it's a big thing to me. But I can't relate with these stories. So I don't think about that. I don't think about having that kind of fear about how somebody perceives me in that regard. So yeah.
I'm going to tweak the question just a little bit.
Okay.
What can I do to have meaningful relationships with people who are just different from me? That is such an easy, I got this, you don't have to write this down. Just seek it. So I have gay friends, I have saved friends, I have atheist friends, I got friends across the, you have to, if you ask God, say, there's people in my life who will drive me nuts with their opinions, with their outlooks, all of that. If we take the time to just get to know the person. See, I knew almost immediately, me and Brandon started clicking immediately because he said a quote from a movie, but didn't say the movie, and then I finished the quote, and we realized we like the same goofy movie. And then we realized there's another movie we like. If you just start talking to people without an agenda, but just talking to people just to get to know them, when you start getting to know the person, the differences don't matter. It makes the relationship better and not worse. So I'd say just being intentionally interested in in just the person. And yeah, I mean, is really not that complicated, I don't think. You just have to put yourself out there. You got a family, they got a family. They watch movies, you watch movies. They like music, you like music. Just do it.
Nike, just do it.
I would agree. I think you have to seek that. I think our nature, we clump up in people that are like us. Starts in grade school. you get your lunch tray and you go and look, scan the room. Oh, there's people that kind of look like me. I'm gonna go sit over there. With people that come into another country, you move to the side of town where people speak the same language, and it feels a little more at home. It's just our nature, and that in and of itself I don't think is bad. The bad part is when we just stay there, and we think this is it. This is the reality. My little bubble, my little comfort zone, and we're not willing to seek other relationships, other friendships, other perspectives and viewpoints. And I think that's, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons for the kind of racism that we see in this country is that people are just unwilling to get out of those comfort zones. And I find the most enlightened people are the people who have traveled, are the people who they like a variety of music. They like a variety of ethnic foods. They like they have variety in their lives instead of always hanging out with the same crew, listening to the same thing, doing the same thing over and over, and thinking that's the norm, and being kind of shut off from everything else. You kind of have to go seek that. I don't think it necessarily comes naturally, but we have an incredible opportunity in this melting pot that we call the U.S. of A. To have those kind of experiences that so many people around the world don't have, because everything is all the same in many places in this world. So we have a unique opportunity. Unfortunately, not everybody takes advantage of that and seeks it.
I would say that I was raised. I was raised when my parents were married. They were married for 13 years, and so a little bit of history of my mom's side of the family. My mom's family migrated from Germany and to California, and then to Oklahoma, and had a pig farm. And anyway, but I have a family history of just blatant racism and prejudice from my maternal side of my family. And so when my mom, the rebel that she was, met my dad at work and fell in love and said she wanted to marry him, she was threatened. Her life was threatened. His life was threatened. The church that they wanted to get married in was, my uncle threatened to bomb the church, and so, but they did it anyway, and they got married. And several years later, my great-grandfather, so my mom's grandfather, who was the patriarch and who kind of led the hate against my dad and his friends and their marriage and us, and became really sick. And the only man who was strong enough and was around enough to help care for him was my dad. And so my mom told me one night they got a call, he couldn't even get out of bed. And so my dad and his other big black friends went over there to help this helpless, white man who hated them, bathed him, fed him, gave him his medicine, put him into bed. And just a short days after that, my sister just above me was born. And I remember my dad telling me that my great-grandfather didn't say thank you. He didn't acknowledge that any of them had helped him in that way and continued to help him in that way. But they took my sister to go visit him after she was born, and they were really nervous to even give Samantha to him because they were like, what's he gonna do with this little black baby? And he was sitting there just staring at her, and my mom said that the room kind of went silent, and he looked up and he was like, I think she gets her curly hair from me, and it was just this crazy thing that and since that point, he passed away a month after that, but between those times, he made an effort to love on my dad and say, thank you for doing that for me, and thank you for showing me love, and I've hated you all these years. And so that kind of began this story of racial reconciliation in my family from our history. And I didn't grow up around my dad's side of the family because they mostly lived in Detroit, and we were in Oklahoma and didn't travel that often, but so I was mostly around my white aunts and my white uncles and cousins. And but I had two half sisters from my dad's first marriage, and a brother and a sister. And their mom passed away one summer that they came to visit us. And so they were with us. You know, after their mom passed away, my dad got full custody of them. And they were significantly older than me. They were in high school, and I was like in first grade. And so I began to be exposed to like Boyz II Men and Mariah Carey, and we would watch Martin, and we would watch Living Single, and so thankfully, those are just some things in God's small graces that like I was really able to have a complete vision of who I was ethnically, and so for me, I think that was something that I was conditioned to view the world in that way, as I saw everybody as an ally, regardless of their race or ethnicity. I was attracted to diversity, that was attracted to me. And so, so I think that kind of was telling when I met my husband, because the first thing I noticed about him wasn't his ethnicity. I didn't even see his face. I just saw his tattoos on his arm, his hat, his Celtic Bible, and I was like, that is fine. Like, that's that's just what I love. He had a Bible, his sleeve, arm sleeve, and I didn't even see his face. And I just remember feeling like, honestly, the Holy Spirit was like, that's your husband, girl. And telling a mutual friend of ours, and she's like, how do you know? I was like, oh, no, I just know. And then she had given him my number, and we just talked on the phone. And again, talking on the phone to him, I don't pick up Korean, on the phone. I'm thinking like, oh my God, is he Hispanic? Like, I couldn't remember what he looked like. And then I was driving home from a trip from Houston, and he goes, hey, well, when you get in town, do you want to just meet up and eat, and we can continue this conversation in person? And I was like, sure. And I show up, and he's Korean, and I was like, oh my gosh. I had no idea. And that was even more like intriguing to me, because that was a culture I had no idea about. So I think that I just grew up conditioned to being attracted to people who are different to me, and I think I've always been like the peacemaker in every school I've gone to. And unfortunately, I haven't been treated the same way. Like, I have friends of all different races and ethnicities, but I was put in a position one time where I was playing basketball in Cherry, and our basketball team was predominantly black girls, and our cheer team was predominantly white girls, and my friends on our basketball team were like, you need to choose who you're going to hang out with, like us or them. And and I think that was the first time kind of blinders, I guess, were taken off of my eyes of like, people are different, people are viewing the world differently than you. And so I was able to like kind of hurt with that, like this is who I am, and it, and how do I navigate through that, like hurt. So.
Wow.
Well, I just want to speak to that for a little bit, because this is something that me and my husband talk about a lot. So after my parents got divorced, my mom started exploring Christianity for herself, because that church is kind of like a denomination of Mormonism, the way that she was raised. And so predominantly white people. And so after my parents got divorced, she started exploring Christ for herself, and she would take us to, all sorts of churches. Like we went to, predominantly black churches, and we went to multi-ethnic churches. And so I was really able to be exposed to like, the, what's the word that people use? They refer to black churches as like, what is it? When we speak in charismatic. And I just thought that was church. That's just praise and worship. I never heard that until I went to predominantly white church, and I was like, well, there's that. That's just how we worship. But anyway, so I've been able to kind of just like engulf myself, and I feel like both type of congregations. And when we moved to Texas, we went to the Village Church. originally in Highland Village, been Flower Mound, and so predominantly white church, predominantly white community, and so as an adult, and then me marrying a Korean man, he's like, I don't care where we go. There's not a predominantly Korean, church unless they're Catholic. A lot of Koreans are Catholic, and so, but I think you and I talked about this one time where I really feel like lately there's been that conversations come up of like, why are churches still so like segregated? Like there's predominantly black churches, there's predominantly white churches, and you can name them. One community church is a predominantly black church. Westside Baptist Church is predominantly black church. The Village Church is predominantly white church. So you can name them, and you know that their congregations are what ethnicity their congregations are primarily. And so that has been raised, and so I've always. We went to this church one time, and they kind of brought up this cute suggestion of like, we're going to have our white pastor come teach at this black church one Sunday to this white congregation, and then next Sunday their white pastor is going to come to our predominantly black church and and teach us and do a message for us. And I was like, that's so cute. But like, if we were really serious about moving forward in integrating and being the universal church, I think that it would be something said if the leadership in our church asked covenant members to implant themselves or transplant themselves, I should say, into those churches. So you have a group of covenant members from a predominantly white church that covenant to transplant themselves into this otherwise known predominantly black church and vice versa, so that we can tangibly see that happening, because we want to see this universal church that supersedes ethnicity. So that's something I've always thought about, because the option of like, let's switch pastors on Sundays, that's cute, but that's not really making a long-term change. And also one conversation I had to have with my mom when she said, well, I think that the pressure's coming on like white churches of like, why don't white churches have more black people or Hispanic people or Asian people in their churches, and why aren't black churches or Korean churches being pressured to do the same thing? And I kind of had to remind her, like, there was a time where black people and white people weren't allowed to worship together, at all. And so, as the American history has progressed, that is what black people have known, that's what white people have known, is at some point we weren't even allowed to worship together. And so there was these different styles of worship that became, and I have black friends that say they're uncomfortable with contemporary Christian, worship or pastors, and vice versa, white friends or Hispanic friends uncomfortable with charismatic churches, And so
let me jump in here real quick.
Please. Yeah.
Churches as a whole, I mean, to change a church, if you're a predominantly black church, and say we're going to switch to something other than what you are, there is a group out there that actually does that and helps churches do that. Churches are like people get like serious about, like, this is my church, and my mom and them went here, and my grandma and them was married here, and but it has to start with leadership, but the fellowship. If we want to have churches that have more diversity, then our lifestyles have to be more diversified. Because if our lifestyles are more diversified, then because you tend to go to church with people you hang, So if we diversify our life more, then we would see more of that. But I think more important than having diversified churches, because that's an hour and a half. Well, if you go to Cunningham Street, that's 2 hours. But I think we should, as believers, we have to have diversified lives. I think that's more important than having diversified worship services, because if you have diversified, you're doing life with people who are different from you. then that's going to minister more to a greater group of people than just on that Sunday morning. Because there are a lot of people you go to church with that you only see them Sunday to Sunday, right? But the people you do all your life with, you see them and you talk to them all the time. So I think we should diversify our lives instead of our churches as much. Although, all you white people, y'all are invited to Moore Street. I'm just going to do that commercial real quick. They welcome you. But you're also welcome to my house. And that's what's most important.
Yeah.
That's good. I love that because I'm very much an evangelist, so I love that idea. If you want your church to be more diverse, just go convert people that don't look like you so they'll come to church with you. I like that. That's a win-win. At Singing Oaks, I would say Singing Oaks is probably the most diverse church I've been a part of, but that's still not saying much, sadly. We're still predominantly white, but we have a Hispanic minister who does outreach for our Spanish-speaking community, and he's from Colombia, and we've started to get, I think before I get here, I think they were doing a bilingual service in the big auditorium, everybody all together, mixing up Spanish and English. I think they were doing that once every quarter, and they've expressed the desire to do that more, so we've been doing that once a month. And we have our worship minister is a young black man named Jabari, who's amazing, and he doesn't speak Spanish, but he rocks it on bilingual Sunday. Like, he works so hard to learn the Spanish songs, and you would think he was fluent as well as he's leading songs in Spanish. It's awesome. And what's that?
Being intentional.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's about being intentional. And I think our leadership has been intentional with some of the hiring, wanting to have leadership that's diverse, and that's going to draw more diversity into our church bodies. So we got a long way to go, but I've been pleased with some of the steps we've made to be more diverse.
And you said that your church's staff is racially diverse, right? I mean,
yeah, a little bit. Like, we could be
a little bit.
But our minister, he's a white guy, but he's actually Australian, so he's kind of diverse. Sort of. He's got a cool accent.
Yeah, I asked because I've jealously noticed, man, he's got a lot of black people in his college ministry.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like your college ministry is kind of diverse. I mean, I don't see the whole thing, but
Yeah.
so kind of got that top
Well, one
down
thing
thing.
I will say
Pass
too.
it back. Yeah, pass it back. Easy.
One thing I'm trying to really encourage and we're having a total cultural change. We were very small church minded. The college ministry, the CCC, was very much, hey, let's just stay safe while we're here in college and not lose our faith and not become drug addicts, and let's just be Christian kids. Stay safe in church. I'm like, okay, not losing your faith, that bar is way too low, guys. Okay, let's have a higher bar, okay, of what God's going to do for you while you're in college, and let's see this place as our mission field, because the mission field has come to us. Countries that are closed off to Christianity, those students are coming here as students. You're going to class with them, you're walking with them. We got to reach out to our international students. So that is one of the things. I wouldn't say that we got a lot of diversity internationally in our group, I wouldn't say, because so many of our friends that we're making aren't Christians yet. But when you come to certain things, when you come to a retreat or a certain game night or whatever, you will see some diversity because we're trying to make it a point to invite and to make friends with students from all over the world.
Awesome. And just for the record, I've never even considered something like transplant thing.
I think about it all the time.
That's super outside the box thinking. We won't get in trouble for saying that on the video. You kind of
Want to go
did.
down?
She can.
You can start.
Well, I kind of already mentioned, like, having to choose between friends. But I mean, I've had several experiences with that. So it depends on how I wear my hair that day, honestly. Like, I mean, can I get deep? Because I'm gonna try to get deep. So, like, being biracial is I'm gonna not cry. It's hard. It is so hard because I don't have one ethnicity. I don't have one flag to wave. I can't say I'm white. I can't say I'm black, like I am both. And especially because I was raised primarily around like my white family, but I have so much influence from my black family. And so recently we did an ancestry DNA thing for me, which was like, my husband was like, okay, stop talking about it. But it was so important to me because I found out that, I'm Nigerian, and Irish. And I was like, that's why I love beer. And that's why, and that's why I got thick lips. And why, so, it did something for me. And like when Black Panther came out and The Greatest Showman came out at the same time, like I felt so whole as a person. I was like, yes, Greatest Showman and Black Panther, and it's just unique. It's just unique, and and I go through life, like the high school I went to was predominantly, white, and but because I kind of had that like rose lenses of like, I hate using the word colorblind because that's not what it was, but it was, I saw the color, but it was beautiful to me and I was attracted to it. And so, but I was always reminded of, you're not black enough to do this or that or the other. Like I was a founding member of the Black History Club in my high school, and I remember some, non-black friends asking like, why are you founding member of the Black History Club? And I'm like, because I'm black, like I am, and I'm proud of that, and I want to teach people like you, about black culture, and so I was constantly reminded of like, you're not black enough to do this, or you're not white to do that, and so there's several things I'm sure so many people can relate to. When I wear my hair naturally, being asked about it, like, or when I would wear my hair straight, like, is that your hair? And
can I touch
being touched, and I, which is, that's something that people hear all the time, but it is really like a personal offense. And then just for my 6-year-old to come home to me yesterday and tell me, people were touching my hair and pulling on it and saying it was fluffy, and for me to have to tell him like, they need to respect your body, like that is yours. They cannot, that's not okay, and I don't want him to think, because he does go to a predominantly, I guess it's pretty mixed, but I don't know, but his class predominantly white, and so I just don't want him thinking that that's okay. He's not a sideshow to be gazed upon or gawked at, that he can demand respect and he can ask people to treat him with respect. So I just feel like I've had so many situations throughout my life where I'm reminded that you are not just one thing. You cannot just wave one flag, but you have to advocate for the skin that you're in. And then I feel like I have to educate also those I am related to, so it's been really,
I went to Kimball High School, DISD. What's up? Anybody in DISD in here? Woo! All right. But my first 2 years at Kimball, I had so much fun doing some of the things that they were offering, smoking weed and in school, that I ended up with a, my parents are so proud of me. I ended up with a 1.6 GPA. Yes, that is possible, and still pass. And so my dad said, well, you're having so much fun, we're going to see how you do at DeSoto High School.
All right.
Yeah, so I ended up graduating from DeSoto.
There you go.
But DeSoto, see, man, this is my dude right here. But at that time, DeSoto was all white.
Oh, sorry.
And so I had Jerry curl. I don't know if y'all even know about it. Google it. Google Jerry curl. I had a Jerry curl. And I was like, so I went, I had lettered my freshman year at Kimball. So I walked, but I knew I knew white people were going to bother me about my Jerry curl. So right before I went to school, I had my head shaved. But I walked in there with my Letterman jacket on, with that big D on it, knowing I'm from DISD. And I had a chip on my shoulder, like, bring it on, white people. I'm ready for y'all. Because I knew it was going to be, it was just going to be something. And sure enough, that second day, I'm upstairs, and I get cornered by these big old white boys. I mean, just look big. And they were like, you need to take that jacket off. I'm like, y'all don't need to take it off for me. And so I knew I was going to die. But I was going And so, but anyway, they were ready to jump me. And then there was a voice that said, if you fight him, you're going to have to fight me. And they turned around, and here comes this tall white dude, blonde hair, good looking guy. And then they were like, we ain't got no beef with you, John. It was like one of those movies, you know. We ain't got no beef with you, John. He said, yes, you do, because if you're going to fight my brother, you're going to fight me. Oh, he your friend? Yeah, this is my friend. I did not know him from anybody, but he put his reputation on the line, because he had grown up with those guys, and he put his reputation on the line, and he was like, this is my brother. His name was John Perkins. This is my brother. And from then on, that was my brother. When nobody gonna mess with me. And what that taught me about race is that even though that means that everybody's not the same. And I knew that, but he taught me that it was okay, that doing right has nothing to do with your color or any of that. And he saw something going wrong. He's like, no, I'm gonna step in. He put his life, because they could have torn both of us up. And it was a great experience. That's 30 years ago. And I still remember that, and I love him. And I pray for him all the time, because he still doesn't know the Lord. And his mom knows the Lord. She's always telling me, Willie, please help John get saved. I'm like, I'm trying, Mom. But he's just a heathen. But you know, so when we're in groups, when we're in our group, just us, you know, people that look like you or whatever, and you hear people say things, be the one to step outside of that group, be like, no, that ain't cool. Like, don't laugh. You know, like, no, that's not what we're gonna do. Because it just takes one brave act. It just takes one person not worried about losing their cool points or losing their friends. Because those are the kind of friends you want. I love John Perkins. I pray all the time that the Lord allows that boy to get saved, because he has a great heart.
Yeah.
Man. Wow.
It's funny because we almost have like the exact same story, because I was in DeSoto. I got confronted by a guy, but it wasn't because I was white, but it had to do with color. It was because I had red on me and he was in the Crips. Yeah, and he was about to beat the tar out of me. And I'm scared. I'm a scrawny little white dude, and he's that much taller than me. And I'm like, dude, this is not going to end well.
Right.
And one of my black friends stepped in and said, hey, he's cool, don't mess with him, he's cool. He's my friend. And I was like, yeah, I'm his friend. So it's cool. It's cool. I'm just going to introduce this. I can't, and I sit here and honestly, like, it's weird. I feel ashamed, honestly, that I can't sit here and tell you, yeah, I remember this one time where somebody was real racist towards me. I got really disrespected on the basketball court a lot. You can say that. You know, but it made my game better.
Right.
Yeah. But no, that's not something I feel like I can say. But here's what's weird though is now at this point, especially in regards to ministry, wanting to minister to someone, I feel like, and it's drawn to diverse people as I am, I feel like my voice is devalued because I'm a white male. And it's not just that I'm white, it's I'm a male at this point in our society. I feel like there's certain people that they're like, oh, I don't want to hear what you have to say. You know, and it's not that they've been that way towards me, it's just the temperature of the room, so to speak. It's just kind of how I feel that person, I'm irrelevant. They don't want to hear from a white guy. They've got these certain views. So that's me reading into how I kind of feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, here's a question that all of us have to answer. It's one that I posed to a Bible study group that I was doing in my community. I will tell you this about white friends. Y'all will show up. And I appreciate it. We invite, if we have something, we invite all the white folks to show up. I'll tell you, black folks don't show up. I'll be there, be late if they come. But here's a question if you are a believer, here's a question that you have to ask yourself and you have to answer. And I'll pose it the way I ask myself, and then you all need to ask this. This is what I say. Am I a black man who's a Christian? Or am I a Christian who happens to be a black man? And so because of the fact that I believe because of the fact I live my life, I am a Christian who happens to be black, that then shapes all of my responses and all of my actions. Because who am I? Who's my audience? My audience is God. You know, I remember when Paul, when he wrote, he said, you know, some say you with Cephas and some say you with Apollos. You know, they didn't die for you. You know, so I have to always make sure no matter what's going on, my response has to be, let's see, from my Christian point of view, from Christ first, not from my race. So even when race things happen, I can't be all soul power, black power. First, it has to be, so how does this impact my witness? And how can I use this moment as a teaching moment for Christ? Y'all, we have to be Christians first. And then we be other things, whatever they are. But we can't be any of those things if it disrespects Christ. So that's the thing we have to make sure we have to walk with. It can be a tightrope walking sometimes. But just ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Yeah, let me. So one of the many things I've been able to do in my life, I was a police officer for 8 years, and shamefully, there were a few times when I saw a car full of brothers, and I was like, I know they ain't up to no good, and so let me go ahead and just see what's going on. But having been the victim of that also, it's hard not to be tainted, and it's hard not to be afraid. I let people have their own issues. Okay, so how someone feels about me has nothing to do with me. They don't even know me. So in this climate, we always need to be wise when we're interacting with the police, because we know that police can overreact in certain situations. But when you know who you are, it doesn't have to be so personal. When we're being pulled over, I get pulled over. I won't say a lot. I get pulled over. That don't have anything to do with me. That has to do with somebody who doesn't know me. That has to do with what they think about me. So I don't allow that to impact who I am. I go through the interaction with them, make sure I keep, there's certain things that we as black men, we learn how to do. When we get pulled over, keep our hands present. Don't try to raise your voice too much. Try and, yes sir, and how can I help you, sir? Do all the things that we know we have to do to stay safe. But when you walk away from that, that doesn't say anything about who you are. That says about who they are. You follow me? You know who you are. And so what someone projects on you doesn't mean it's true. So I try not to absorb, I shake those things off, because I know who I am. And that's the thing, we have to know who we are. And when we know who we are in Christ, when we know that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, when we know that we are made in the image of God, you don't know me. So I don't let it define me. You can think whatever you want about me. Like the Wednesday nights, I try and dance sometimes. They laugh at me. You think I care? Don't make me get up here and dance. If I would, if the camera wasn't rolling. It doesn't matter what. I won't say it doesn't matter. Don't let them define you. You know who you are. You know what kind of man you are. Don't let them define you. That's their issue. Pray for them.
I think we're so prone. I mean, it goes back to cowboys and Indians. We're so prone because we've had this one bad experience with this one group of people. They're all that way, right? They're all that way. And we know that's so far from the truth. We know that's been so absolutely detrimental and devastating to our countries all through history. To have those kind of reactions. So I think in those kind of situations, like, I mean, Mike, you know me too. I'm prone. I get a bad attitude real quick. I can go. I'm a minister, but I can go right back to junior high. I can get a bad attitude real fast. And I think in those moments, like, recognizing I'm innocent here immediately, and instead of responding like, oh, I'm ticked off, why are you messing with me? You know, when there's a million, crazy people out there y'all should be getting, why are you messing with me? Instead of copping the attitude, kind of taking joy in the fact, hey, I'm totally innocent.
Yeah.
And having a good time with it. Yeah. I got pulled over one time I was in college, and it was like 2 a.m. in this little bitty town in East Texas. I get pulled over, and next thing I know, there's like 5 squad cars behind me. And I'm like, oh gosh, what is this? And I was in my dad's car. He's a preacher, because I was home from Florida. And anyway, they get me out. They frisk me. They search the vehicle. I'm like, what in the world is going on? But the whole time I'm confident, like, it's 2 a.m. I'm a college guy. Y'all probably think I'm up to no good, and I'm just smiling. I'm a preacher's kid. Right. That's my dad's car. You just don't find the Bible. And that's all they found. They popped up in the trunk, and they were so embarrassed. They were so apologetic. Oh, we're so sorry. We took up your time, and I'm just laughing. I'm like, yeah, you are. So I don't know if that helps at all, Mike. But just to, and it's hard. It's hard not to take that bad experience and so many other people's terrible experiences and project that on all these people. But we know how devastating that is, and it's trying real hard not to think of it that way.
Real quick, one time I had fun with on my way to church one Sunday morning, me and my son, and I look in the rearview mirror, here's Corinth police Sunday morning on my tail. I'm like, bro, come on, I'm on my way to church. So he gets behind me in the right lane. So I get over to the left lane, I'm gonna let him go by. So he get over in the left lane. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna let you go by. So I get over in the right lane, he get over in the right lane. I'm like, okay, well, so we gonna really do this, right? I get over there, I'm feeling those feelings, so I get back over in the left lane. So we're going down 35, and everything, I get in there, and we just, my son like, Dad, cut it out. Oh, okay, we're gonna have a good time. And so I go ahead and exit over there by that Callaway's, right at Dallas Drive. And I'm like, okay, now I gotta worry about my reputation, because all the church people will be passing by here. I ain't letting nobody see me pulled over. So I pulled over, but then I pulled up in the Callaway, then I went on back behind the Callaway, so to make sure nobody could see me from the road, because I didn't want nobody to see me getting pulled over. And so 3 police cars, they show up, and the guy, hey, MC license and blah, blah, blah. Why you pull me over? You have a warrant, your license plate, you have a warrant. There's a warrant for your arrest. Ain't no warrant for my arrest. And so he comes back about 10 minutes later. Sorry, we typed in the wrong license plate number. Okay. But we knew we hadn't done anything wrong, so I just thought I'd have a little fun with them. I don't think they appreciate it, and I would not suggest you all doing that. God has given me some weird favor in my life. I would suggest you do that.
I don't have a whole lot to personally relate to that, but I've been witness to my oldest daughter. Her dad is a black male, big 6'2", 220 black male. And when we were dating in high school, I remember. My husband's over there. I remember we were hanging out after a football game, and he had the cars that he drove everywhere, and we had just parked in the high school parking lot waiting for all of our friends to leave or whatever. And I remember the police came up, pulled up next to the car, and asked for his driver's license and everything, and then asked me to get out of the car. And I was like, okay. And so when I got out of the car, they were like, are you here, on your own? Will, is he, holding you, or is he asking you to do something you didn't want to do? And I was like, no, we're together. and he's taking me home, and and so I thought that was so weird. And this is before, that this was in 2005, 2006. So before there was this, huge public strand of, all of this police injustices and brutalities, and so that was so weird to me. To see that, and then they just gave him his driver's license back, and they're like, okay, have a good night, and then and so he has had several experiences like that and others, and he shares them with our daughter, and so so my daughter has this, when we come to church every Sunday, we have a police officer that that's here for our safety, and she tells me how uncomfortable she is coming to church every day, and there's this big brawly white police officer, and she goes, it just makes me feel weird, I just don't feel safe here, because she's fed off of what her dad's experiences has been, and he shares those with her, and he's given her the lens of to fear the police, and that they're not, they're gonna treat you differently, and be more, and so it's so hard to have to share with her, yes, this is real and this has happened, and there are police officers that are like this, but general rule of thumb is that I've taught you to respect authority.
You should introduce her to that officer.
We should
make him when you make him a person, then it becomes easier.
Yes, we should, because we just walk right past him because I know it makes her uncomfortable. Yeah. And I'm like, girl, you're 13, I'm not gonna arrest you.
You should.
Yeah. I'll just say quickly, to white, non-white friends, to be an advocate, speak up, be brave. You see something that's not right, or you're a witness to something that's going on that's not right, say something. It means the world to me when I see my non-black friends speaking up or speaking out about injustices, because I expect to see my black friends do those things. But when I see my non-black friends speak up and speak out and are just as outraged as I am, I'm like, okay, one step closer, to being this global church.
Bam, that's it. Man, y'all, you just don't know the power you have. I expect Brandon to speak up, but I'm talking about just the nun-pastor, the nun-leader, just Joe and Sue Smith. When you speak up and just say, hey, I don't really understand where you're at, but that's not right. Just let yeah, exactly what she said. That means you have no idea how powerful and affirming that is for us.
I just want you to know I'm not racist. Okay.
My brother. I have a question for my white brothers and sisters out here. Do you all get upset, kind of like what Brandon said, thinking that, you're not racist, but it seems like maybe people automatically projecting on you that you are.